Okay, so if you take a look, we're going to do the map of colonial America in 1750. These are our colonies, the English colonies. So if you look at your instructions, okay, we're going to use the map on page 84. Your textbook actually has one that might be a little bit better, but it's got more stuff on it. So I also want you to look at page 50, okay? If you're using the online textbook, remember it's on TCI. So we're going to use the map to label all these places on here. You want to make sure that you're neat so that you can read what you write. Okay. So go ahead and get your materials. You're going to need 3 colors at least. I'm going to use color for the mountains, and I'm going to use blue, brown for the mountains. I'm going to use blue for the water. And then I'm going to use 3 different colors for each of my 3 regions. All right, so we divide these colonies into different regions. Okay, put your name on the back of it because that's where the blank is and it says name. You can use colored pencils. It says to use colored pencils. You're welcome to use markers or highlighters instead. It is up to you and your personal preference. Okay, so we're going to take a look, and the first thing we're going to do is to label our colonies. And I'm going to go in the order they're on here because that goes from north to south. Okay, that's why they're not alphabetical. So I'm going to start with Maine and Massachusetts. Please understand at this time, Maine and Massachusetts were one and the same colony, both called Massachusetts. Okay, the territory known as Maine was not separate from Massachusetts. So both of these are Massachusetts. This one is Maine, and I'm going to put it in parentheses because that is not its official political name. Okay, its official name is Massachusetts. So after you label Massachusetts, the next one I go to is New Hampshire, and it is right next to Massachusetts. All right, New Hampshire. And the next one is this little one right here. Okay, this one is called Rhode Island. R-H-O-D-E, Rhode Island. The one to the west of Rhode Island is Connecticut. Okay, Connecticut. Next one is this big one right here. You know which one this is? What is it? New York. Okay. Okay. And then New York, by the way, controls this Long Island. This is part of New York. Have you heard of Long Island, New York? Okay. This one here, right here, is Pennsylvania. The one next to Pennsylvania that kind of looks like it's shaped like an S is New Jersey, the one I'm outlining right now. This one is New Jersey. There's a lot of smaller states in the north in the New England and middle colonies than in the south. So we have one more that's in the middle colonies. This one here, it's kind of shaped, has an L-shaped border. That one is Delaware. named after Lord Delaware, who brought the boat with John Rolfe to Jamestown. Okay. All right. The next one has a really weird boundary because it's made up of mostly a water boundary, rivers and a bay. So I'm going to outline this one. What's the name of this one? Maryland. Good. Okay, so Maryland has a very different boundary here. So we're going to name this one Maryland. Now, Maryland, if you can remember, Queen Mary was Catholic. Maryland was set up for the Catholics. It was a refuge for Catholics from England that needed a place to go to practice their religion. Okay, so Mary was the Catholic queen. And then Elizabeth was the Protestant queen, the Church of England queen, right? So she's right next to Maryland, and it's Virginia. And Jamestown is right about here. Okay, but there's Virginia. Virginia has the largest land area in the colonies. Next one is North Carolina. Then South Carolina. And then which one is north of us? Down here in Florida. Which one is directly north of us? Georgia. Good. And then just because I'm a Floridian, I'm going to go ahead and label Florida with an FL. To remember that Florida is right here. Okay, this was Spanish territory at the time, but you know, it will become part of the United States because you live there. All right, what's the next thing on your assignment tells us to do? So we went ahead and labeled all of our colonies. The next thing we need to do is go through our bodies of water. So we'll start with the Chesapeake Bay. I'm going to use blue for bodies of water. The Chesapeake Bay is what gives Maryland one of its unique boundaries, okay? The other one is the Potomac River, so that's the Potomac River. But this bay in here, all of this water in here, this is the Chesapeake Bay. So I'm going to color it in so you can see it, and then I'm going to label it. Chesapeake Bay. Have you ever been across the Chesapeake Bay? I drove my car across the bridge. There's a sign that says, "Be careful, crosswinds are very strong. You can get blown off the bridge." It's pretty. It's really neat. Okay? If you take I-95 north, you'll go right across the Chesapeake Bay. And across the San Francisco Bay, too. Yeah, well, you just have to hope. I mean, we have worse winds here. The bridges I travel most frequently have recently been destroyed. So, all right, next one is the Atlantic Ocean. You know where that is? Label it. You know where it is. You go to the beach at the Atlantic Ocean, right? So it's east, remember here? It's east of you. So this is the Atlantic. The next one says Lake Erie. I got a mule and her name is Sal. 15 miles on the Erie Canal. Okay, this is Lake Erie. Then we have to its east, Lake, I put L period to mean lake, Ontario. Use your sheet for spelling. This one is named after the Native American tribe that inhabits the region. This is Lake Huron. So if you notice, all the gray on the map is water. The white is land. This one is Lake Michigan. It forms the boundary of Michigan today. And then this one here is Lake Superior. I have been to this island. You see it right there? See the island right there? I went there. It's a national park. It's called Isle Royale National Park. It's one of the least visited of all national parks. You have to take a boat to get there, or a helicopter. And it's a wilderness island. Superior. Okay, we got our lakes. Now we need to do the Ohio River. So when you do the Ohio River, guys, you kind of want to pay attention to the boundary, but you have to draw half the river on there, okay? So on page 50 or page 84, whichever one helps you see the Ohio River more clearly, I'm going to open up page 50 and take a look at it, and I will go ahead and trace the Ohio River for you too. Okay. All right, so it's this. And then it meets up all the way over here with the Mississippi. Okay, so if you see where I did it, if you look at the boundary of where Virginia is, okay, and I went off the side, and this is the Ohio. Now the next one we have to do is the Gulf of Mexico. It's down here. The city of New Orleans is over here. This is where the Mississippi River empties into the Gulf of Mexico. The Ohio River empties into the Mississippi. Gulf of Mexico. Okay. So we now have our bodies of water done. We are now going to do our cities. I'm going to use red to mark the cities. We have Boston, New York City, Philadelphia, and Charleston. You want to start in the north or the south? Let's start in the south. We'll do Charleston first. What state is Charleston in today? Charleston, South Carolina. Good. So here is Charleston. Put a dot where the city is. It's about halfway on the border. Okay? And then label it Charleston. Sometimes you'll see it labeled Charlestown. I spelled it wrong, didn't I? Look at that. Charleston. Okay. The next one we're going to put is Philadelphia. So come up here to Pennsylvania and see where Pennsylvania and New Jersey form a common boundary. Now, do you notice how the boundary indents right here? That's pretty much where Philadelphia is, but place it in Pennsylvania, not in New Jersey. However, it is on the border or very close to the border, all right? So this dot, and then I'm just going to label it right inside of Pennsylvania. Philadelphia, and please write the name Philadelphia. Don't write Philly. It's Philadelphia. Okay, the next one is New York. New York City you can find where the Long Island meets the mainland. There's a tiny space. That's where New York City is. It's on an island, remember, or a couple of islands. And this is, I'm going to put NYC. You know what NYC means? New York City. You can write out New York City, but I'll let you abbreviate NYC. Most people remember that is New York City, right? Now the last one that we have to put on here is Boston, which is going to be a very important one for us at the beginning. And Boston is right on the inside of this C-shaped harbor here. So I'm going to put the dot right below where I wrote my line. And I'm going to write Boston. Okay, now we got our cities done. We only have one more place to label, and then we got to do our 3 regions and we're done. Okay, so the next one, number 27, says the Appalachian Mountains. I'm going to use brown. Now, if you look at the map that you have in front of you, okay, you'll see the Appalachian Mountains are labeled, and it goes all the way from Georgia all the way up, okay, into Maine. So how are we going to indicate this on our map? Right? Often what we see done for mountains is people will draw little peaks. So that's kind of what I'm going to do. I'm going to start over here, and I'm basically going to draw peaks that go up the border of the southern colonies, and they're going to start cutting through Pennsylvania and New York. So I just drew a long line. Okay, you can come over here into Maine of peaks. And then I'm going to label the Appalachian Mountains. Why are they so significant for us studying the 13 colonies? Do you remember from civics? Do you remember from the video we just watched? Yeah, you got it. That's where the proclamation line was, where the king restricted settlement west of the mountains, okay? So we see we have 2 territories west of the mountains now. We've got the territory north of the Ohio River and the territory south of the Ohio River. This will end up becoming Indian territory, and this will become, the Kentucky and the Tennessee territories, okay? All right, so the last thing we need to do is put our 3 regions. If you look at the map, again, that we were just looking at, you'll see them outlined in 3 different colors. And I know because I have a more modern boundaries on my map that I'll go ahead and outline them for you, show you where they go. We'll start with, let's see, I'll use green, purple, and orange for mine. And I'm going to color them in at the bottom. I don't care what colors you use. Just make sure that you color in your key. I'm going to make the southern colonies purple, the middle colonies orange, and the New England colonies green. All right. So we'll start in the south since we're already looking at the south, and I'm just going to trace the boundary around Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina. These are what we call the southern colonies. I'm going to keep Virginia in the southern colonies, and I'm going to put Maryland in the southern colonies. But I'm not going to put Delaware in the southern colonies. So I'm drawing a purple line all the way around them, indicating that those are the southern colonies. How many southern colonies do we have? How many southern colonies do we have? Count them. We just outlined them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 southern colonies. The southern colonies have the most territory, right? Look at the south. It's very large compared to the other 2 regions come from the north. Okay? The middle colonies include Delaware, New Jersey, New York, and Pennsylvania. So I am going to draw an orange line, because that is the color I chose on my key. And I am going to indicate that the orange line outlines the middle colonies. And then to end it, I am going to have the New England colonies in green. All right? The New England colonies in green. So start here next to Connecticut. I'm going to outline Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, and the part of Massachusetts that we today call Maine. And those are the New England colonies. In the next couple of weeks, we will be learning why we distinguish these three regions. Okay? So make sure that your map looks nice. Go ahead, put your name on it. And we'll take a look at the finished product. Here we go. Map of the 13 colonies in 1750.